Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this. Hey, welcome to Uncovered. I'm here with Danny. How are you, Danny?
Good, thanks, Jace. How are you going?
Yeah, not too bad. Look, I'm really excited to do this interview with you to uncover what's really, really important for you in your particular area of expertise, because it's an interesting area. It's real estate, guys, and I know from a client perspective, I used to rent, and we didn't really like you guys.
Don't blame you.
Right, and as a buyer, we it's like the used car salesman as an idea of a client.
Yep.
And it's really tricky because we need you.
You do.
But we don't actually like you for some reason. And you used to work for a company, and I was a healer when we first met.
Yes.
And I convinced you to run your own business, didn't I?
You did. It was a very big jump and scary for me to leave that job that I'd been in for 7 years. It was a bit of a, I suppose, safety blanket for me. But I suppose through coming to see you, I realised that I wasn't being looked after as a staff member. And, you know, I think that's really important. If you're going to run your own business, you need to look after your staff, because your staff look after your clients. So that's the most... that's really important to me.
Yeah. And you were that person. Like, it's really interesting because when you came to see me, you were the pin-up of that place.
Yeah.
And you were the requirement and they were just treating you like a number, weren't they?
No, they were. They didn't value me at all, and I didn't see it at the time, but I see it now. So. Yeah.
It's really interesting, and now you've got this great company called Element Property Services.
Yes.
And I was waiting. I had a tendency. I had a rental property, and I was trying to convince you to come and look after my property, wasn't I? I was just like, when are you going to start doing this stuff? I was poking, and then all of a sudden, your business, you took off in your business. And tell me about what it was like actually starting your business from the beginning, and the fears of having to transition from being a worker, which is, you're getting your pay. You know what you're going to get, you have your holidays and everything like that, and then you had to earn your own money. What was that like for you?
Well, thank you. Actually, firstly, Jason, thank you. He was actually my first client, my very, very first client that I signed up. But before I set up my business, I went to another business where I was going to purchase a rent roll with some other colleagues, and we were going to set up our own business. That business went into receivership, and it got sold to another big business, and because I was in the mindset I'm going to be running my own business, I decided to leave and just set it up. And I did have a bit of a head start, I guess, because I already had clients who were going to follow me, and I was very upfront about that in the whole process with the receivers. So I just went for it, and I did have a little bit behind me to, I had to sacrifice for a bit to make it happen. But
tell me about those sacrifices, because this is one thing that people don't realise when you're running your own business, that you have to really make some really big ones in the beginning, don't you?
Well, it was obviously financially, not having that security like you said, but also just having to believe in myself, which I probably hadn't done before then, and just backing myself. So I guess I had to sacrifice not believing in myself.
I think that's where I came along, and I just kept poking you and just kept. Sometimes you need someone who's going to give you the backbone that you're missing.
You did, and I definitely wouldn't have had the guts to do it if I didn't have your support behind me. For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
And so now we've got this amazing business that you run, and you've got staff members now. You were just solo before.
Yep.
Tell us about what it's like with your ethics, because the reason why I wanted you to get into the rental market, because you have a particular niche. Like, you have a no arsehole policy like we have in the academy.
Yep.
You have a really strong ethic about looking after both the people who are renting and the landlord. And that's your real core values,
yes,
isn't it?
Yeah, definitely care. So our main values are for owners to care for their tenants. Although it is a business, you're dealing with people, and you do need to have regard for them. Care for the property that you own, that they're living in. So that means keeping it maintained in particular. And also care for the people who are looking after your investment. So that's us. So I think a big thing about why I haven't burnt out is because I am steering away and getting rid of the people who don't fit in with those values. And I sort of, obviously tenants, we expect the same thing from tenants. They need to care for the landlord, care for the property, care for us. And obviously we care for our clients, both tenant and owner, care for the properties we're managing, and also for ourselves. So that's why, I look after my staff in particular, because, I need them to help me.
Look, being on the receiving end of your business, and I'm not on the receiving end anymore. I've sold my property to buy our new home. I can definitely vouch for your care. Being an owner, I was overseas, and we had a hole in our roof.
Yeah.
And I remember that. And if I didn't, you got in contact with me. I was teaching overseas. You got in contact with me and said, there's a problem here. We need to get it solved. And one thing I knew is that I didn't have any problem. I was completely secure in knowing that you were going to get it sorted.
Yeah.
And you were going to look after me. You were looking after the tenant at the time. And we got everything sorted. And when I got home, everything was fixed.
Yeah. Well, we do have really good tradies behind us, and also we look after them, of course, because they look after us and our clients and tenants and owners. So, we're really lucky with that. Because I have managed to, because I've been doing it for so long. I've got a good base of tradesmen behind us to help us with that sort of thing. And the roofer in that particular case, he actually diagnosed the problem using Google Earth, looking at the roof from a satellite photo. He's that
Isn't
good.
That amazing.
So he told me, he's like, before he even went out, he goes, this is the problem. So
And look, one thing I've learned from you, Danny, is if I need a tradie, I quite often message you and say, do you know anyone? You're like, yes, and
you and Anya.
every single person is absolutely amazing that you hire. Because of your ethic. And I think this is what is missing, guys. This is what we do in our academy, and we help, and you're in our academy.
Yes.
And we help train people to have care first. And that's what you supply. And I think that's what's really missing in this industry, where there's not that care first model. It's like, we need to get that business. And you were talking about that today before we even started this podcast, was, hey, this guy offered me a whole bunch of stuff, and I said, well, I'm not really sure, because I want to make sure that there's really strong ethics involved. And I think that's really, really important, because you don't want to just have a rent roll. No,
that's not the business I want to grow, just taking on all properties when, if the client is, doesn't have the values that we need, then I'm not interested in really working with them. I want to build something that is really, really great, and for me to be able to do that, I do need to be selective, and I'm selective with the tenants we choose, and that's really kept our problems to an absolute minimum. It stopped me from burning out as well, I think.
100%. Look, I'm just going to go a little bit more backtrack here. There's always something to uncover with particular people. And for you, Danny, you were bullied at school.
Yes, severely.
Severely bullied. And you've had to deal with that with your daughter as well.
Yes.
Over the last couple of years. And look, you look at a business model that is bigger than actually it's this idea of, I just want to make sure that there's care, because we're looking at making sure that there's no bullying
Yeah.
in your environment.
Yeah.
And quite often it can feel like the landlord and the tenant are at each other, having a go at each other, and this is quite often what happens with you, isn't it? People process and have a go at you just because you are the person that is in the middle of this triangle, triangle, isn't it?
Yes, and I find that largely they're bullying me because they're not accepting responsibility for themselves.
Yeah.
So, you know, if an owner's upset because they have to fix something because their property's old, well, they bought an old property and it is going to need maintenance, so you kind of have to expect that. And I know that, you know, me being honest with people has cost me business, but that's a good thing because it's weeding out those who are not, who shouldn't be landlords really. If you're not going to look after your property and you're not going to look after your tenant, then you shouldn't be a landlord. So that's just being brutally honest. And
100%. And look, as a landlord, every time you said there's a problem here, I was a pretty good boy, wasn't I?
Well, yeah, you were.
Fixed, didn't I? Straight away.
No, you were great. So,
and because
you know, we don't make it up. We always try and work it out first because we try to save our owners money as well. But, you know, if something needs fixing, it needs fixing. It's not something that we're just, you know, making up.
That's right. And look, this is what I love about you, Danny, is that you're more than just a real estate business. You're actually a business of helping people find autonomy and having a sense of care and nurture within something that is just quite often we look at it as a transactional experience, and that's where you're pulling away from. And a lot of the businesses are transactional, and naturally, it's a business transaction that comes in place. Really, there's more to it than just a transaction, guys, and I think this is super, super important to understand. I'm just going to cut this off. This battery just went out. This transactional approach that a lot of the real estate companies make is what makes us feel like we don't really matter in either way as a landlord or a tenant. And we need to learn how to make more of a connection in lots of ways, because this is a home. We're talking about the most important thing as a renter or a landlord. It's the place where you're meant to feel safe.
That's right.
Isn't it?
That's right.
And because you've experienced this sense of being bullied in your life, I think what you're really trying to do is create safety with your world.
Well, definitely.
And then create an environment of safety in this environment, which is not an environment that's safe typically with this battle that goes on a lot of the time, isn't it?
No, that's right. I mean, property managers have been killed doing this job, so it's not an easy job. I mean, people want to abuse you and all of that, so I mean, it is hard, and you know, cyclically I suppose those things do come around and I do have to deal with that, but I'm just getting better and better at weeding it out and setting up my boundaries. I'm pretty firm with those.
And it's really different now because we've had to really mentor you to help you feel comfortable that it's okay for you to say what's okay. And that's what it's really important when we're talking about care. It doesn't have to be nice all the time. It's about actually being really clear. To provide clear.
People don't like what I have to say sometimes, but I still have to say it. So, you know, I don't enjoy having to tell owners, you know, some major plumbing issue happened at your property or something like that, but we still have to do it. So, it's just part of it.
It's part of the process. And I think, guys, if you're in that place, we're talking about two things. We're talking about Danny as a business owner for real estate, and look, I really believe that, Danny, I think you're onto a bigger fish. We've spoken about your bigger future fish that we want to fry here. We'll talk about that in a moment. I think what we're talking about is care, and what we're talking about is trying to make sure that we build something that is, we're losing this caring community at the moment, aren't we?
I think so. I mean, I've seen it. I just see it with other agents, and I'm like, no wonder people hate us. You know, I saw a sales agent treat one of our tenants last week really badly, and you know, argue with us about legislation and stuff like that. And And, you know, we had to pull the agent up on it, and he said, oh, remember who you're working for. And it was ironic because that particular person selling the property is one of my staff members, and it's also the sister-in-law of my other staff member. So, of course, we care, probably more than he does. So we said, look, you're not going to sell your house if you don't have the tenant on side. You really need to look after the tenant, treat them with respect. Yeah. He was just so rude and condescending to them. It was just appalling. I was disgusted, and I thought, there's got to be a better way than this. This is just not right.
Yeah, and that's what I love about your passion, Danny, is that it is really missing and it isn't right the way that we treat each other.
Yeah.
Especially in your chosen profession.
Yeah.
Because you're in a position where you are the one with arrows pointed at you before you even open your mouth.
Oh, I know. People hate me before they've met me. So.
Yeah, and Danny's one of the nicest people you ever meet. So, if you're in that position and you're listening to this right now and you're dealing with a difficult situation, contact Danny, because she's, if you're a landlord or a renter, because I think it's really important to know what your rights are, but also know that there's another way of communicating to these places. You do not have to be landlocked into a business that is actually not serving your needs.
That's right. So I think I've been told before that I take a pretty balanced approach to how I manage properties, and I've had tenants come on board as landlords later down the track because they know as a tenant they're going to be treated with respect, and those are the kind of landlords I want, because they're the ones who want to look after their tenants as well. So it goes around, I think. So if you look after people, it comes back to you.
Yeah, it does at the end of the day, and that's another layer that I think you have been really working with a lot over the years, is giving yourself that level of respect so you know that you're not in trouble for actually just doing the right thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Because one thing I know about you, this is why I wanted you to do work for us and that sort of thing, because I knew that your ethic is you're not a shortcut person.
No.
You're always looking to do the right thing, and if it's going to take a little bit more time, you'll make sure that the time is taken.
Yeah.
And that's not common in any industry that we're talking about. So, you find healers, which I was one. You found me as one.
Yeah.
Right? You were looking for something to fix your body. I was always that person who found the problem and actually solved it straight away, wasn't I?
Yeah, it was amazing.
And it's quite hard to find that unique person who is going to actually really, really help you, isn't it? In any industry.
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. It's not necessarily the name on the the brand outside the door. It's who you're dealing with individually. So
yeah, that's right.
Sure. And so that's why I'm trying to create that ethic and that culture within my business, which I think I've achieved so far. So I'm just trying to build on that. And yeah,
that's exactly right. And as you get bigger, it's like making sure that you maintain that culture. So can you tell us a little bit about your internal culture? Is it like a family? How do you create your culture inside of your business? What does that look like?
Yeah, well, my business is kind of like a family. I mean, I've got my two staff, and I used to work with one of them at my last job, and so I already knew her, and I knew I could trust her, because when I first started, I needed someone to help, and it was going to be in my home because I didn't have my office yet. So I needed someone I could trust in my own home. So that was Maria. So I brought her on board, and I did have another girl who I employed, and it didn't work out. I think, it's funny, I've found I was really good at picking tenants because I was looking for the red flags, but I completely missed it with this staff person. So I did have to let that person go because I didn't feel they were a good fit for my clients. And I just worked by myself for a few months while I dealt with the trauma a little bit, because it wasn't fun. I don't like having to be the bad guy. And then Sarah came along, and she came about because of Maria.
Yeah, so we've got this really lovely connection. So what it feels like is an environment that you are bringing to the table that allows a great place to go and work as well.
Well, yeah, we try and be flexible. So, I mean, Sarah's got kids, so she can work from home because we can do a lot of stuff remotely. I work from home as well when I need to. I've tried to create that so that she feels supported, and then she's able to better support me and my clients, and she does a great job. So
yeah, that's fantastic. And it's so nice. Like, I know I am a little bit pushy with you. I want you to create a big empire here.
Yeah.
And I know you get a little bit stressed sometimes when I tell you what I think you can do, and excited at the same time.
Yeah.
What's your big thing? Like, we've spoken about it, that like helping business owners how to actually create the environment that you're building.
Yeah, just spreading the culture around the world and being up on stage and speaking about all this stuff that we're talking about now, just to make businesses better.
Now, isn't it fantastic to come from a place where you were bullied at school and tortured, terrified, and now you're in a position where you actually want to express the importance of what you're healing?
Yeah. Well, that's right. I mean, you've always said, what are you scared of the most, and go do that. So I was always scared of running my own business. So I remember distinctly saying a number of years ago, I was never going to own my own business. And that's exactly what I've done, just gone and done it. So, thank you.
Well, that's sort of bred in the family too, isn't it? Your parents had, is that right? Is it your
my
mum?
Parents.
Or both parents?
Both. Well, they had a business building kitchens, and actually my parents had two businesses at one point. My grandparents had a petrol station. My auntie and uncle were fishing people, and now they have a business and they do selling water down the coast. And even on my husband's side of the family, my sister-in-law owns two furniture shops, my in-laws. So I think I couldn't avoid it if I tried. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit in the blood by the sounds of it.
Sounds like it, yeah.
Yeah, and I love the fact of what you're doing, and to help other businesses learn how to create a really good culture, and to learn how to do that. And I know you're building that right now, and for anyone who's really looking for someone who can help in your niche, which is the real estate industry, if you want some support or help around this, you also have done, you're doing our academy, which is mentoring to help people learn how to be better people. Thanks. No, you don't have to plug us, we're plugging you. Thank you.
No, but though I've learned so much through coming here, particularly around boundaries and things like that. Yeah, you think you're pushing me. Anya's tough. She's tougher than you. So.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
So, no, I recommend, coming here if you're looking to grow and change and improve your life. Yeah. Because that's what I've been doing. And it's because I've been coming here to get that knowledge and
it's so interesting because you had someone sort of helping you in your niche, didn't you?
Yes, but their ethics in the end didn't sit right with me.
And that's so important. Like, we can find someone who's niche based but who's not actually based on our heart. And really, I think it's really important because our academy is very vast. It's very, very different. We've got artists, we've got all sorts of people in our academy, real estate, big people who are doing coaching, all sorts of things in our business. And the ethics that we have is very, very simple. It's like, how can you become a better person?
And it's not about the money, because that's what this coach. It just felt like it was just building up your numbers, and it didn't matter. And I want to build my numbers, but I want to do it my way. And I want to do it sustainably. And
that's right. So I think that's really important. When you're looking for someone to get help, you don't have to actually get the help from the industry that you think you need it in. Because they may have the same systemic problem that the industry has, which is what you found.
I don't know. I just found, there was just greed behind it, and I could see it, and I didn't like it.
Well,
so
that's typically what that industry can be. You can have, people who are, the landlords wanting to make sure they get enough out of the tenant, and all of these sorts of things, which is a transaction based. And I think that's probably where what we do, that's a very, very different process, because at the end of the day, transactions are important. Where neither of us think money's a bad thing. What we're talking about is what's beyond money. Is when you die and there's nothing left, you're not going to bring your assets into the casket. It's what you become and how people think of you that matters more. That's the legacy. Was Danny a good person? Was Danny helpful? Was Danny kind? Did every time I thought about Danny, how did I feel about her?
Yeah.
Because that's what you take home to the grave.
People still hate me though.
Well, only because of the industry. Remember, this is not like people who know your ethic.
Well, people who don't want to accept responsibility for themselves, and I have to remind them and pull them up on things, they tend to not like it.
Yeah.
So I just get amused by that now because I can see it so clearly. It's just a pattern with these type of people, and
Well, I think that's a really good thing to maybe discuss a little bit as well, as this word responsibility.
Yes.
Because you've always been very strong on that, and that's why I encourage you to run your own business, because it is a big responsibility to put food on the table and know that you have to make income.
Yeah.
So it's very, very different.
Yeah.
And then we're looking at an industry where you're trying to get your tenants and your landlords, your team, which you call them a team, as opposed to these are the people, they're your team.
Yeah, they
and
are.
You're looking at your team to be responsible on both sides of the fence.
Yeah.
And then you're helping them become accountable to that responsibility. Would that be right?
Yeah, definitely.
And so then when people hate you, it's just because they're lacking that maturity and the responsibility, I'm assuming.
Yeah, exactly. It is definitely maturity, lack of maturity.
Yeah, and so you can be 50 years old and be really immature.
Oh, it doesn't matter how much income someone earns or what job they work in. If you're a good person, you're a good person. If you're an asshole, you're an asshole. And so I don't care if you earn $1 million a year. I don't want to deal with you if you're an absolute jerk. So
yeah, and that's a great foundation to be in. I'm the same. I don't care what someone's done. I want to know who they are, and that's why we have a no dickhead policy in our academy. We don't want people who are going to rock the boat. We've had a few and they haven't been great and they've left, and we've been very grateful that they've gone, simply because we're building our structures up to make sure that the environment is a place where everyone feels safe.
Yeah. But I mean, I will have to say, obviously, there'll be times like when these people will come back up just because they're here to test us, because we're still repeating our patterns we have to work on. So
yeah. But you see what we're talking about here, guys, is actually patterns. We're not just talking about business. We're talking about we have to grow.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what industry you choose. You have to develop yourself to know what the heck is actually going on. And this is why, we know what's going on under the carpet for you, because we've shown you. Now you know you're walking on top of the carpet, but you know what's underneath it and why and how and what. Because every time someone comes to test the bully, like the bully comes in, you're the victim, you have to stand up when someone comes in.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're not on that, someone's going to try and manipulate you.
Exactly.
And because you're so nice, you actually have to be really clear, not nice. And that's where the care comes in, is actually being responsible, making sure your tenant and your landlord's responsible and kind of nice as a result of clarity, isn't it?
Well, that's right. I definitely am responsible. I even understand that when I have to deal with these difficult people, that I've attracted them into my life for a reason. So I accept responsibility for that. And so I know that I have to work on something behind the scenes, and I have to either set my boundaries or, be assertive and, do things that are not going to make people happy, but I have to do them. So I have to make the hard decisions, and I understand that.
Yeah.
So
well, for me, being a receiver of that, there were never hard decisions. When you were looking after our home, all I knew was that I was going to get looked after.
Yeah.
So it was an easy decision for me to go, okay, this is a problem, this is a problem, you need to do this. I'm like, okay. And then I just go and do them and thank you. Yeah. And that's what reciprocity is all about. When you have someone who has your back and really care, and they really care about their business, then the end result is actually not a hard decision, in my opinion. It's actually an easy decision.
Yeah.
And it would be an easy decision if you were a responsible person and you wanted to have your place looked after. Yeah. Either you were renting, either way, and you want to be looked after by you. It's a responsible decision to pick someone like you. Yeah. And it's you get to make the easy decisions when we've got this team that's working in unison together, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely helps.
And that's what you find. Like when you've got your really good clients, there's no hard decisions.
No, it's just, it flows.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to create, a nice flow of how it just runs smoothly when I've got the right people on my team, when I've got the right tenants, the right owners, even the right tradies as well.
Yeah.
And also the right support behind me.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
I still need people still need this academy to help me out. And
and that's what it's all about. So business, when you're actually thinking business, or if you want to transition into something, you got to think more deeply about, how do I get that transaction to work? How do I make sure I've got money coming in? Because at the end of the day, I've worked with really successful people and they're still broken. And they're wondering why the hell their success is not making them happy.
Yeah, because it's not just about money.
No. It's about actual what's under the table, what is going on, and why the hell you're doing it in the first place.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. So, Danny, I'm so excited.
Thank you
so much for saying yes. I'm sorry we were supposed to do this last week and some shit hit the fan.
You were just sick. That's all right, Jace. You've got to look after yourself too.
Yeah, I do. So, really want to thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
If you want to find out what Danny does, we'll put this down below. Now, if you like this podcast, I'd love it if you could share it with people, review it, and let people know that we exist.
Yep.
Our job is to help people find out what's going on under the covers, and if you want to find out about what Danny does, we'll put all of those details. What's your website, hun?
It's elementpropertyservices.com.au.
Yeah, and you're based in Canberra, yes?
Yeah, in Isaacs, but we do all over Canberra.
All over Canberra. So this is for the Canberra community at the moment.
At the moment, wow.
Yeah,
You're scaring me.
Watch this space. There's a little ... there, like Facebook.
Thanks, Jace.
All right, thanks so much, guys. We'll catch you soon.
Thank you.